Okay, I'm back. And this is going to be just medical visit updates for week 31, 32, and then I'll do 33 and 34 here in a minute. So anyway, at week 31, 32, we had a doctor visit, and during that time, she told me, from now on, you're going to be visiting me bi-weekly. I was going to have non-stress tests starting week 33. I was going to have non-stress tests every week, twice a week. Because as you guys already know, if you look at my previous vlogs, I was diagnosed with chronic hypertension when I was pregnant with Jada the first time. Chronic hypertension and anemia. So they wanted to make sure that everything is okay with the baby. The baby's still, moving around, not in distress. And I get ultrasounds as well, probably every 4 weeks. Every 4 weeks to look for intrauterine growth restriction. And that's just to make sure the baby is growing correctly and that the placenta is growing correctly and the baby has enough amniotic fluid. So they measure the packets of amniotic fluid around the baby to make sure that he's getting enough. So anyway, during week 31, 32, I had an ultrasound during that time. And let's talk about my blood pressure, because that's a big thing with hypertension. My blood pressure runs about 135/70-ish. At this visit, it was 135/78. So they mostly focus on the bottom number. 135/78 is usually normal for me. Anything over 85, they worry about, for me, personally. And I told you guys before, I take hydrochlorothiazide, which is a water pill, which helps with, of course, retaining water. And it helps with blood pressure, and so does my methyl-dopa. And they switched me from labetalol to methyl-dopa while pregnant because methyl-dopa is a class A, where labetalol I think is class B or C, so it's not as safe for you as methyl-dopa. So that's Aldamet for you guys that don't buy the cheapy stuff. Aldamet is the specific name for it, but I get the off-brand, which is methyl-dopa. So anyway, I'm on two of those a day, plus 2 hydrochlorothiazide water pills a day. So it's even me out. I haven't had any problems with my blood pressure this whole entire time, except for when I did the glucose test. It was 140/, I think, 86, 85, 86. I can't remember. But she attributed to drinking that whole entire glucose drink, which was ridiculous. But thank God I didn't have to go take the 4-hour test. My sugar was like 125. I love it. Okay, blood pressure was that. I gained 2 pounds during those 2 weeks. So during the ultrasound, they measured the baby. Let me see if I find a picture. I didn't show you guys any ultrasounds, and I'm so sorry. And this was actually week 29. Yes, this is week 29. I'm sorry. But I did have I had a prenatal appointment 2 weeks after that, and they discussed the results of this, so that was pretty cool. But she didn't see anything wrong. So this is the baby. Let me cover up all that crap. That was the baby. And they do it in 2 little sections. So that's the head. And they do a split screen. And there's the body. And they also now have the 3D ultrasound, which is really cool. Okay. So there's the baby. That's his face. You can see his eyes and his nose right there in the middle. His little mouth. And there was a profile picture of his face, which is really cool. And there's his hand all the way over there. That's the placenta up top. Okay. And then she did another regular picture because we wanted to know if it was still a boy. And it was still a boy. So that was kind of cool. His little thingy right there. So that was really cool. And we discussed the results of my last ultrasound with the intrauterine growth restriction. Say it so fast. I'm so sorry. At that ultrasound, he was 4.5 pounds approximately. He was measuring right on. He was in the 57th percentile. She was very happy about that. I had 4 pockets of amniotic fluid, and they all measured pretty big, so he has plenty of amniotic fluid. They didn't tell me how many. I think it's pints. They didn't tell me how many, but they said it was plenty, so by the measurements. So everything was good that visit. So, like I said, from there on out, during week 33 and 34, I would be doing bi-weekly visits, and I would also be doing weekly visits, bi-weekly prenatal, and then I'd do non-stress tests twice a week from there on out. So at the next visit I did, which was during week 33, I had a prenatal visit. And during that time, my blood pressure was 136/82, which was kind of high, but not overly high. They were worried about it. I had a +1 protein in my urine, which, of course, I had preeclampsia last pregnancy, so they're definitely watching for that. I have not had to do any kind of urine collections, 24-hour urine collections. They said the +1 protein could be because I'm not drinking as much water, but it's nothing they worry about. But I will continue to monitor my blood pressure and things like that just in case. I also had non-stress tests, and everything was good. Baby checked out. If you guys know what that is, I'm sure most of you guys do. They hook you up to a monitor around the belly, 2 straps, and one has a fetal monitor on it about this big, and you'll hear the baby's heartbeat, and over here they're measuring your contractions on the bottom with one of those graphs, line graphs, and they measure the baby's heart rate on the top. What they're looking for is periodical accelerations and decelerations of the baby's heartbeat. And then they give you a little clicky thing, and it's hooked up to this monitor. Every time the baby moves, you click the button. So looking for the movements, the baby's heart rate going up and down, and then your contractions. They measure all that with this machine. As long as there's a lot of fluctuations in there, I don't know what the amount they're looking for is, but I've passed every time. So I'm assuming the baby's passed every time. So I'm assuming it's not a large number, you know. But I know when they tell you to monitor kicks at home and movements at home, they want you to have like 10 in an hour or something like that. So I passed that, and it's usually 20 minutes long. If the baby's not moving a lot, they usually up it to like 25 minutes, 30 minutes, just to make sure you have enough in there over that period of time. So also, let's see, during week 33, and this is the end of the week, like Friday-ish, she had said that she wanted to check my iron again, because I am anemic, and last pregnancy I was severely anemic. I wasn't on any kind of iron supplements, prenatals, anything before I had Jada. I was on them for like 3 months, so I didn't have a lot of my iron stores. So I ended up having a iron infusion in week 35 or 35. So anyway, she knew I was going to have one again this pregnancy, just in case I hemorrhaged and lost a lot of blood. I needed those red blood cells to create oxygen to my body for me and the baby. And hemorrhaging, of course, takes away a lot of that. I didn't want to have to get a blood infusion or blood transfusion during pregnancy. I did not want to do that. So anyway, got tested for my iron, and it was a 10, which you guys know is low. Anything below 12 for hemoglobin is low. But they also test your ferritin level, and there's another level they test also, which during week 34, which was this week, she had me tested on Wednesday for the ferritin. I had a blood draw on Wednesday for the ferritin. And ended up having to get the iron infusion on Thursday. So that was yesterday, on the 29th. And of course, they have to admit you to the hospital on the maternity floor. So I got my little paperwork and everything with all the information I need on there and side effects and everything else. When I went there, my blood pressure was 134. It was 74, which was freaking awesome. So everything was great there. I had such a good time. That's sarcastic. It's a 4-hour procedure. It usually takes between 3 hours and 4 hours. You get 250 cc's of iron, and what it does is stimulate your red blood cells stimulate your bone marrow to make red blood cells for the oxygen intake to carry to other parts of your body. So I'm going to do this in 2 parts. Okay, so stay tuned for part 2 of medical stuff. All right, guys.